Last night you heard it again, a bird call, not once, not twice, but repeating at midnight, from somewhere outside your window. At first you told yourself it's normal, just nature, just a stray bird confused by light or sound, and it happens again the next night. Same timing, same pattern. Same repeating call cutting through the silence when everything else is supposed to be asleep. And that's where it starts to feel different. Because birds don't usually behave like this, in perfect repetition, not in a way that feels almost intentional. Here's what most people don't realize. When something natural repeats at the exact same unusual time, your brain stops treating it as background noise. It starts treating it as a signal. And once that shift happens, everything feels sharper, personal, more noticeable. But that's not the real reason this sticks in your mind. The real reason is timing, because the bird never calls during the day when everything is loud and normal. It waits for midnight, the quietest moment, when your thoughts are louder than the world outside. And suddenly your brain starts asking questions you didn't plan to ask. Why now? Why the same sound again and again? Here's what most people don't realize. The human brain is built to detect patterns, even when none exist. It's a survival mechanism. In ancient environments, repeating sounds at night could mean danger, weather changes, or movement nearby. So your mind automatically pays attention. Even today, that instinct is still active. So when a bird call repeats at midnight, your brain doesn't stay neutral. It activates meaning-making mode. It starts connecting dots that may not even be connected. And that's where it gets interesting, because there's another layer to this. Some birds actually do call at night. Certain species become active due to artificial light, city noise, or disrupted sleep cycles in their environment. Street lights, buildings, even distant traffic can confuse their internal rhythm. So what sounds unusual might actually be biological confusion. But that doesn't fully explain why it feels personal, because people don't just hear. And sometimes they start expecting it. This is where psychology steps in. Here's what most people don't realize. When a sound repeats in a quiet environment, this is called predictive patterning. Once your mind expects the sound, even silence feels like it's waiting for it. So when the bird stops for a moment, the absence feels louder than the sound itself. And that subtle shift creates emotional weight. But there's another explanation people don't talk about. Fewer inputs, less noise, more internal thoughts. So any external sound gets amplified emotionally. A bird call that would feel normal in the day suddenly feels meaningful at midnight. Not because it changed, but because you did. Here's where it escalates. People often report hearing the same repeating bird call during emotionally heavy nights. Overthinking, insomnia, moments when sleep doesn't come easily and thoughts keep looping, and the brain does something strange here. It starts linking external repetition with internal emotional loops, so the bird call becomes connected to whatever you were feeling in that moment, even if it has nothing to do with you. That's called emotional anchoring. And once it happens, the experience becomes hard to separate from it. But that's not the most unsettling part, is consistency. Because it's not random nights, it's repeated nights, same time, same sound pattern. Almost like a rhythm that your mind starts recognizing before you even consciously hear it. And when something becomes predictable in an unpredictable environment, your attention locks onto it even harder. Here's what most people don't realize. Unpredictability is normal at night. Silence changes, wind shifts, sounds come and go. But repetition breaks that randomness. And your brain knows. This is where it gets even more interesting. Some researchers believe humans are naturally tuned to respond to rhythmic repetition because it creates a sense of structure. Even in nature, repetition often signals important behavior like mating calls, territory marking, or communication pattern. So your mind doesn't ignore it. It studies it. Sometimes it overstudies it. Now the experience shifts again. The bird call doesn't just feel like a sound anymore. It starts feeling like presence, something that returns, something that watches the timing of your world as much as you do. And once that idea enters your mind, it changes how you listen at night. Even ordinary silence starts feeling different. But here's the truth underneath everything. Most of the time, nothing mysterious is happening outside your window. Nature is just doing what it does. Birds react to light, temperature, sound, and environment in ways we don't fully notice during the day. But your mind builds stories from repetition, because stories help explain uncertainty. So your brain fills the gaps. And that's why this experience stays with people long after it happens. Not because of what the bird is doing, but because of what your mind was doing while it heard it. Here's the final shift. Eventually, people who experience this pattern often fall into two groups. Some start ignoring it completely over time. It becomes background noise, but others start listening for not out of familiarity. And that's the strange part, because what once felt unusual slowly becomes part of their night routine. A sound they don't fully understand, but no longer question as strongly. And that reveals something deeper about human nature. We don't just react to patterns, we adapt to them, even the strange ones. You react to us, even the ones we never fully explain. So if you've been hearing the same bird call repeating at midnight, maybe the question isn't just what it means outside. Maybe it's what your mind is doing with it inside. Because sometimes the most persistent sounds aren't warnings or messages, they're reminders. Reminders that your attention is awake even when everything else is quiet. And once you notice that, you can't really unnotice it. So next time it happens, don't rush to label it, don't force meaning too quickly. Just listen, and pay attention not only to the sound, but to what kind of thoughts show up while you're here.